Welcome to Feldy. Now get your butt out there and start farming.
Yes, sir, we will, Farmer Yip. Welcome, everybody, to Farming Simulator 11. This is the Feldy map created by Farmer Yip, whose voice you just heard telling us to get out there and get our rear in gear. Alright, it's been a little bit since I've been in here, so I'm kind of surveying what is open and what is not. Okay, we have a little bit of hedge left to trim. You know what? Let me take care of that right now. This hedge trimmer has a curious habit of when the game closes and you save it, it detaches and turns 90 degrees to the right. I don't know what causes that. Just kind of an interesting anomaly. I don't know if there's something that upon load of the game that it does that. I just don't know. Alright, so we have it up. Let me zoom in here a little bit. I think the key O takes the legs up. Now I gotta figure out how to get this over. I want it to the right. I probably should be doing it to the left. Anyway, Z and X. Okay, this moves it to the side, and that moves it down. Let me move it out. Now move it down a little bit, and I think I can twist the top of it like so. And let me get it up just a little bit. There. That looks about where we want it to be. There's so many different key bindings. They all seem to work. And let me see if I'm popping. Nope, I don't see any errors. That's a good thing to know. But I have learned this particular tractor is fairly underpowered, I think, for this. Or maybe not underpowered so much as underweight. It'll run it, but it's I'm having trouble steering it. Now, let me see. Let me turn this on. This thing cuts everything. Alright, so I'm probably gonna have to take 2 passes. Is that about the right height? Yeah, I think it is. It kind of got us in reality just a little bit as we take care of the stuff on the side, and probably in real life you have to tilt the head a bunch of different directions just to do this. Yes, it's reaching down and it's clipping all of the grass right along with it. I've noticed you don't dare take it into the field because whatever it encounters, it cuts. So if you have full crops of grain ready to harvest, don't accidentally leave this on and then come over the field. I gotta say that does a pretty decent job. I've already done this side of the road, so you can see it makes a pretty good trim on the hedges here. Now this one happens to be, it's kind of unfortunate. It's already sitting on the lane, or the road, if you will. So maybe in the editor I can move that over a little bit. Or I just leave it be. At least it isn't nearly as unsightly as it was before. You know, and really, ultimately on this map, there aren't that many places where they have hedge for you to trim. You know, in some ways I thought of maybe going into the editor and adding some more. And I say editor because I don't think you can plant hedge, which is probably a good thing. I mean, can you imagine accidentally planting it in the field? I don't even know. Alright, that appears we're done. I don't even know if you could take it out, you know, if you used the cultivator or something. So now that we have finished, Now that we have finished, we'll go park it somewhere. Yeah, see, you can tell I'm just a little tipsy. And there's times I can't steer the silly thing because the wheels are up in the air. So you can just, you can see I can barely keep it on the road. And yeah, especially if I'm on a hill coming down and it's kind of, yeah, I'm going to end up in the drink if I'm not careful. Yeah, see, I'm popping a wheelie here. I've noticed I could just, oops, yeah, see, I'm driving right through the fence. I could lower the thing, you know, but then I go slow, but that does seem to help me stay on the ground a little better. But whatever. Let me get around this fence here, and I will take our tractor. I'm going to kind of cut through the field here, as there's no crop in it at the moment. I'm trying to recall, I seem to recall the last time we were in here, I'm popping a wheelie again, that we maybe were in the process of cultivating this, and perhaps I was cleaning up the potato crop, and now I've done some off-cam, and you can see I've done a fair bit of work in here. Here's the other area where I trimmed the hedge. It definitely looks quite a bit better, I'd have to say, and it's been a long time coming. Now, I'm kind of curious to see how soon it will regrow. If you may recall from an earlier episode, I adjusted every single crop in the map, or most of them anyhow. Let's see, do I have an area where I can park this thing? I don't know if I want to park it in there or not. This almost is a... Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to park it outdoors. Because I'm afraid if I park it in the building, who knows what's going to happen to it. Well, maybe what I'll do is back it over here. Just lower it down. And I'll be curious. It seems like whenever the game comes on again, it's all folded up in some fashion, so I have to redo it and everything, but that's okay. Well, maybe, you know what? I could probably use this to haul this Bowser once I have biofuel to haul. I don't know if there's anything else I'll be doing. Anyway, folks, that is the hedges in the game. And actually right here, as we're tabbing through our equipment, you can see the other hedge right over here. I've tried to trim every bit of it on the place. I did most of it off cam. Even back in here, you can see our red clover is growing up, getting ready. Although what I don't understand is the foreground of the red clover looks like this, rather than the bluish green color. But be that as it may, we'll continue on. I've also taken steps to windrow this field over here. I think it's our final field of OSR. I'm trying to look for my cropping master plan. Oh, I don't think I have any OSR anywhere else. So this is my final field of OSR. We have another field of canola. You can see the combine is parked there, getting ready to harvest. I guess I dropped the windrower here, not knowing what else to do. So we are going to finish harvesting this, and then we will make our way into the corn. Get our fuel tank out and ready. Here's our tractor, which, you know what, we're going to take around this field and get it ready to go. Trying to come in behind the harvest crew and have the soil prep crew ready. So we'll get him going, we'll get it hired, and then we can run the harvester at the same time. Ooh, hold on, before I drop that and turn. Okay, good. Field detection is on, which is a good sign. Here we go. I don't know if I should be so fastidious on the corners. You can kind of tell by seeing the grain around the edges that each time you drag the cultivator over this, I say each time, the first time it killed all the grass kind of along the edge of the field, and I kind of like having the grass there, but that mandates that I drive straight, and everybody knows what kind of a driver I am, having watched these. But I think once I have a round the field. Oh, careful. You know, this is something I added in the editor. Up here, you know, these are choices that a map maker makes for conservation of resources. And you'll notice some... here's this silly area. You'll notice sometimes that areas of the map are there where they don't put down foliage or those kinds of things. And this was an area up here where the mapper chose to not have a lot of foliage. And usually a mapper will do this in areas where people aren't going to see it or notice it. But if they expect to see something, then typically they will have something there. That makes sense. So a lot of times, you know, they will try every trick. You know, if it's an area that just doesn't get much traffic or people looking at it, if it's not something you see at most normal angles, well, even if it is a hillside that would ordinarily be covered in grass, maybe they'll leave it bare. Oh, this silly thing along here. Oh, I don't like that one bit. I need to flatten that out again. Let me try that again. I don't know if I can get it any better coming up along here. This is what a disaster. I think there's one other area here to... I think a lot of this was particularly necessary. You know what, I'm just taking another pass. This is kind of a nasty edge. I think that this was particularly necessary kind of in this older version of the game. I think the resource allocation got a little better as the game improved in successive editions. But back in this day, I almost think this is harder on my machine to run than it is even Farm Sim 22. Anyway, I added a few more details when I had this in the editor here the other day, making some changes. So I added some grass up on top of that hill. I also want to show something else that I recently worked on too, and I know it's a common question sometimes as to how to do it, and so I want to show it just a little bit. We'll get this guy going here soon. Actually, I probably could hire him right there. We'll get him going. Alright, back up and perfect. There we go. Off to the races. Alright, he should be able to do that on his own. What I did is I made a new PDA map. If you'll notice, this one here is quite a bit brighter than the one the map author had. You'll notice also I haven't taken time to put in all of the labels that he had. But I think a significant change, which I'll show in a moment, is not only is it a little brighter, I believe you can see more details with how I set it up than you could see in the original. For example, I just see the mouse pointer here. I added it in where the water flows through here. Ditto around the kelp island. This was kind of just smoothed off in the original. It didn't show how the water came through. I also got rid of all the shadows that were in here from the hills. And what I want to do is maybe show the trick as to how I did that so someone else could do it. So I'm going to let him go. He should be just fine. I'm going to hop out of the game real quick. Okay, so to make the PDA map, one of the first things I did is I didn't use the regular map i3D file. I made a copy, and then something else that I did is you'll notice when you open a map and you zoom out, every object has what's called a clip distance. And I think we've talked about this in here before. The clip distance is how far away you can get from the object and still see it. So if you have a clip distance of 10, as soon as you are 11 meters away from the object, the game will no longer render it. You won't even see it. It'll be as if it doesn't exist. If you have a clip distance of 1,000, then you can see it for 1,000 meters away, and so forth. Now, when you do a PDA, and you'll notice I just opened this copied file in a text editor. When you have a PDA map, it sometimes is nice to have all those details you can get on a map. It isn't the way you would want to play the map, but it's nice to have the details on the PDA. You have to ignore all these other files that are open. I have my map copy here open, this i3D file. And so coming in here, what you want to look for is clip distance. So if I just do a search, clip distance, it'll take you to one of them here. For example, this gas station. I don't even know where that gas station is. Oh, it's probably on the main farm. So it has a clip distance of 200. Now, nobody's going to care to see a gas tank, but if you want to see it at a distance, and your camera, when you make a PDA map, is going to be 2,000 meters above the surface. So that's something to keep in mind. And if you wanted to see this particular object on your PDA map, you would add another 0 right here so that you can see it at least 2,000 meters up. Now, given that there are hundreds of objects in here, and with many clip distances, I mean, you can see it here, clip distance 100, 100, another, they're just all over in here. You kind of need to do a shortcut. You can literally go through this. You got to be really careful and edit each one individually. You can do that. Or you can do a find and replace. And what I do for this is I will look for clip distance equals open quote, because you'll see down here like this, clip distance equals 100. So what you want to do is turn all the clip distances into a large number so you can see them as far up as you go, as far away as you want. So if you get the first part and then replace it, oh, and this is already in here for me doing it before, clip distance equals open quote 999, and see if you replace this with this, it's going to find every single clip distance in the entire document, and it's going to replace it with this here. So why don't we just do that? Replace all. And open doc. I think that's this one here. Okay, so 874 occurrences. Like I said, there's hundreds and hundreds of objects on a map. So if we were to do this one at a time, we'd have to do it 874 times. So you'll see right away what it did as we look here, this clip distance added in the 999, And the reason I did it the way I did it is because I wanted to make sure we didn't break anything in the XML file. So I think we managed to do that, and now that we did that, I'm going to save it. And this is a reason you don't want to do it in the master copy of your map i3D file, because we're saving this and now we're going to open it. So I have this over here, our editor. Let's open up the copy. Alright, it appears to have loaded it. Had to exit the game to get it to do it, so that's a little irritating, but I've always said I don't have a very strong computer. Anyway, we just loaded up our highly detailed version in here, and so you'll notice none of the objects are... Oh, but wait a minute, our camera is being traitorous. So what we'll do, let's adjust our camera, which I happen to know is this one here. We come over here and we look at our camera attributes. Field of view is fine, but it's only 1,000. Let's just add a 0 to that. That'll make our far clip. There is a near clip and a far clip. Near clip is how close does something fade from view. So at 0.1 meters, an object, if you're standing right in front of it, it will disappear. And this here, as you saw, at 10,000 meters, it's no longer going to render. Alright, so now, if we zoom out, you'll know it's stuttering a little bit. Like if you look at this building here, even though we come out a long, long ways, we can still see it in there because the clip distance was raised to a very big number. Ditto with all the other objects. So whenever we're trying to make a PDA, we want to have top down in the middle of the map from 2,000 meters up. So we'll go to our camera here and we'll set it at the middle of the map, so the translate needs to be 0, 0, 0. So just give me a second here. 0. And rotation on the y-axis should be 0. The x-axis is this axis that runs left and right. So you want to rotate the camera on this axis to point straight down, so that'd be a -90. Oh, I'm sorry. Y shouldn't be 0. Y is the up axis. X and Z should be 0, but we want to be 2,000 meters in the air. And voila, there is our map. And now looking at it, we can see how basically what you would do is have a picture like the snipping tool, and you take a snip of the map. Now you can kind of see the light green outline of the map here. And you may say, well, how come that it bulges out over here, and you can see kind of a varied edge, if you will. It's hard to pick it out. So and you could, in theory, just take it as is. It's kind of what the map author did, and just draw yourself a square here, starting here, kind of down to here. And you could take this into a photo editor and you'd be fine. It'd be close enough. So, but what I want to do, there it is. What I wanted to do was try to make it a little more precise. You know, one of the things I didn't like was all this shading and what have you. So this right here that I'm going to click on, this is the water table. And you'll see it's on the water plane. And one of the things to notice, it's at translate Y 80. So it's at 80 meters up from the bottom. Everything under 80 is going to be underwater. It looks like some of this is underwater. It really isn't. If you zoom in, you'll see it goes under these hills here. Suffice it to say, we notice that everything's at 80. So One of the things we can do to get rid of all this shading is you basically need to get rid of all the hills. So what I did, let me see here, this is, this up here is for the terrain sculpt method. That's actually, if I get a much bigger, oh, that's way too big. Let me just try 1,000. There, you can see the whole thing here. Let me get that off the water table. You'll notice that we have replaced. There's a little box in here where you can tell it what height to replace the terrain with. So it'll take whatever height that is in here and it will replace it with 80.5, just above the water level. You could actually go much further and flatten the whole thing if you wanted. That would be an approach to do. But I opted to do it just above the water table so I could see kind of where the water came up to. You got to make sure that one of your buttons is on replace. And so I just started replacing, and you'll see that it kind of flattens everything out. All right, I think the radius was too large at 1,000. So I tried it at 500. It actually crashed my editor, which I cut out of the video. But you'll see that it makes now a decent square. You can see the edges plainly now. Pretty plain, and really, all things considered. The edge is still a tiny bit frayed, and I believe it's because we have the water table in there. So really, if you wanted an entirely clean square, you could do it by getting rid of the water table, and it would be perfectly square. Let me just take that off. And so what you would do is come in here with your snipping tool. Oh, you know what? I didn't totally see where that was, but maybe it's about here. And you could get more precise by adding more light. And I may have done that. I may have added another sun in the air to generate more light. You can do that too. This one actually looks pretty decent. But this is the square of the map. And then what you would do is you would save it somewhere, and then you would open it in a picture editor. So that's kind of what I did to generate a new PDA. But then the real fun started. And I'll just pop this open here. What we have here is the PDA that's the original that came with the map. So you'll see the map author wasted little time in making this. Kind of just did a flat job. He did put in this little teeny island here. But you notice down here with Kelp Island, you notice with where the grain market is, grain mill, market for the cattle, there is water that comes through here, but he didn't put water around either of these islands. And it's just kind of smeared off, which is fine. You know what? We're not driving in the water. But I prefer a little bit more detail, and you see all the shadows in here. And so when I made mine, I got rid of those shadows, but I haven't yet. You'll see he numbered all the fields. He added additional labels. You have to manually put those in, so you'd have to text those in here. And so on mine, this is kind of what mine looks like. I had to manually put in all the water. And, as you could see over here in the map editor, this is all green. So I went around the edge and I added some rocks so I could kind of tell where the shoreline was, although it got really difficult in here. But then I had the map editor open and I zoomed in to carefully study where the edge of the water was as to where on this picture I needed to put the blue. Now, and so it was kind of just an exercise in tedium. Obviously, it was easy out here, but anywhere around the shore, I had to be very careful because, there's a road, for example, on this new field that I made that comes along the edge. I wanted to make sure that when I was driving down there, you could literally see yourself on the road, not in the water, but on the road. And I think I was successful, but who knows? We'll find out when we drive around a little bit in game. Now, another consideration is I do plan to make some additional changes. So it's like I only want to do this water part once. And odds are next time, I may add an island or something. Well, that'll be pretty easy to carve out. What I wanted to avoid was having to do the shoreline again. So I edited out the map and I separated it from the water. So I have a PDN file over here with 2 different layers that you can turn it off and turn it on. So next time when I get a new PDA map, if I make one, I will just superimpose my water line and put it right in there on top of the map. And so it'll be right easy made. I only have to do it once. And then of course when I save it to a DDS file for the PDA, I'll just collapse these 2 layers against each other. You'll notice that the technique of adding clip distances isn't 100% effective. For example, and this is something I need to get working. See this little red line in here? There is a train that is supposed to go back and forth on this high railroad bridge. The train is an object that is hiding under this mountain, and most of the time we can't see it, except when someone puts very high clip distance on there, which our catch-all did. So this, maybe if we really wanted to be a purist, we could go back and look at this and figure out where it is just to keep it hidden. Another casualty is kind of some of the hedges. When you lower the ground like we did, we can see the square, we can see the roads, we can see the fields, it's all just fine. But then you have like this little green line. And what this is a hedge, and I think it's supposed to be right across this field. Well, this is a substantial hill here. And so by lowering it, it appears we change the location of the hedge. And because our camera is here and we're kind of looking down over here, it isn't totally top down, so we're kind of seeing this a little bit of an angle. I think that's kind of why that is there. But I do have to say I like the result, and so this is going to be our new PDA map for the foreseeable future. Anyway, I just wanted to show a little bit how they were made. Hopefully that was helpful to anyone looking to make one. And thank you for coming along for this video. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.